Probably I don't know what is the technical issue. Yeah. So thank you so much. So the topic for today's discussion would be this equal protection of. So now, but before switching to this topic, we would be dealing with this right to privacy that what we have discussed in our previous class. So what exactly we discussed last time, that privacy is nowhere explicitly mentioned in the Constitution, but it's an umbrella of right. It encompasses a number of rights. Furthermore, we talked about that how privacy is not about secrecy; it's more about the individual autonomy. And it says like the privacy protects you from unnecessary governmental interference, and it acts as a safeguard in order to protect your autonomy and your individuality. Then we talked about that what are those rights that have been encompassed under this right to privacy. So I am giving a quick recap again before starting today's discussion of this equal protection of law. So the first topic we talked about was this right to marry. And हमने Indian cases के साथ भी देखा that how Article 21 of Indian Constitution contains this right to choose your partner. We talked about two leading cases therein. Now, similarly, we have right to marriage under the United States Constitution. United States Constitution में एक बहुत ही ज़्यादा leading case है. The name of this leading case is Loving versus Virginia. This is a case of year 1967. जहाँ पे जो interracial marriages को जो ban किया गया है by state laws, such laws have been held to be unconstitutional because it said that it violates equal protection and due process clause. And because they believe that this is a fundamental right. So if there is a violation, if there is a breach of fundamental right, the same must meet the strict scrutiny in the court, in the Supreme. So right to marriage और इसी right to marriage के concept को further जब same sex marriage को any law that prohibits same sex marriage have been held as unconstitutional by the United States Supreme Court in a very leading case now known as this Obergefell versus Hodges. This is a case of year 2015. Or this case is really important. It says because this institution of marriage is available to heterosexual couples, why this institution of marriage should not be applicable, should not be accessible to same-sex couples or homosexual couples. So this is a very interesting case. So we have discussed, and in fact, this Loving versus Virginia, this is one of the historical and leading cases in the United States history. So please, you have already taken the notes of all these cases. So I again ask you to, these are some of the leading cases. So in fact, you could remember them, right? So the first one, this Loving versus Virginia, and the second case of year 2015, Obergefell versus Hodges, right? So this is a case wherein the United States Supreme Court has said कि कोई भी ऐसा state law that prohibits the same-sex marriage, that bans the same-sex marriage, actually offends the Constitution, offends the spirit of equality of the Constitution, equal protection of law of the Constitution. So this is a very important case. Furthermore, we talked about this right to procreate. See, जब हमने कहा आपके पास एक right to marriage है, you also have a right to procreate. Whether to have your child or not is also a right, is also your privacy right, is a subject matter that completely lies within your domain, that completely lies within your autonomy. So right to procreate. और जब मैं बात करूंगा right to procreate की, तो it also contains a right to use contraceptives. So any law that prohibits use and sale of contraceptive would also violate the Constitution. तो देखिए तीनों राइट बहुत ही इंटरलिंक्ड है, बहुत ही इंटरकनेक्टेड है. सो अगर मैं कभी भी बोलता हूँ राइट टू मैरिज, सो राइट टू मैरिज से आता है राइट टू प्रोक्रिएट, और राइट टू प्रोक्रिएट से आता है कि राइट टू यूज कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव्स, राइट. और इसी के फर्दर एक राइट चला जाता है जब बिकॉज whenever we are saying whenever we are procreating, so this also comes there in picture, also comes this right to abortion. That's a very important right, जिसे हम थोड़ा सा डिटेल में आज दोबारा से एक क्विक रिकैप लेंगे. अब मैं बता रहा था राइट टू प्रोक्रिएट. So right to procreate have been held as a fundamental right because United States में ऐसे बहुत सारे स्टेट में लॉस थे जहाँ पे जो कुछ लोग जो थोड़े से मेंटली स्टेबल नहीं है, उन लोगों को फोर्सफुली स्टेरिलाइज कर दिया जाता था कि because they could not take care of the child of their offspring, and therefore such laws has been held as unconstitutional. the court have recognized that it is completely within the individual domain, individual autonomy, whether they wish to procreate or they do not wish to procreate. So that's an important right. And the case would have been here is this Skinner versus Oklahoma. This is a case of year 1942. और privacy बहुत important है, इसी वजह से मैं इस पे थोड़ा सा emphasis दोबारा इसलिए दे रहे हैं because this is a really important topic. और आप इंडियन काउंटर पार्ट में देखते हैं, so we have this case of year 2017-18 जहाँ पे पुट्टू स्वामी में उससे पहले भी थोड़े जजमेंट्स में कहीं ना कहीं टेनेंट्स हमको दिखते हैं privacy के, जैसे हम कहते हैं यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में कि there is no explicit provision regarding privacy, but there are n number of provisions found in the constitution. In fact, अगर आप first 4 amendments को देखें बिल ऑफ राइट्स के, तो उस हर किसी में एक privacy का टीनेट, एक privacy का कंपोनेंट आपको दिखता है, एक एलिमेंट आपको दिखता है. तो जब मैंने कहा you have this right to procreate, that also means that you have a right to control the upbringing of your children. So for example, any state cannot force you, any public school cannot force your children to read a particular kind of language, to study or to get instructions in a particular kind of language. So in such case, a very similar case, this case of year 1923, wherein the court has held that due process does not allow a state to prohibit teaching children any language other than English. So it said that parents have the complete right that how they wish to, pursue their child, how they wish to control their child, how they wish to upbring their child. So that completely falls within their domain, and state should not unnecessarily interfere. State interfere कर सकता है, देखिए कोई भी right आपको absolute नहीं मिलेगा. So state could interfere, but when it could justify कि हाँ it has compelling purposes, तो तभी हम हमेशा use करते हैं this strict scrutiny. तो strict scrutiny में क्या है? The court always says कि आपको ये दिखाना होगा कि ऐसा कोई इतना ज्यादा compelling purpose है, और दूसरी बात, there is no other means, there is no other way to achieve the state purpose without actually curtailing the rights of the individual. और इसी में एक प्रोपोर्शनैलिटी का एलिमेंट भी आ जाता है कि आपको वो सारे मीन्स यूज करने हैं, आपको वो सारे तरीके यूज करने हैं कि जिससे इंडिविजुअल के राइट्स मिनिमम एक्सटेंट तक कर्टेल हो. सो दैट्स व्हाट नोन एज दिस प्रोपोर्शनैलिटी. Now further we go that this individuals have a right to purchase and use contraceptives. So whenever I say I have a right to procreate, that also means that I also have a right not to procreate. और ऑब्वियस था यहाँ से एक इन्फरेंस ड्रॉ हो सकता है कि हाउ आई वुड नॉट प्रोक्रिएट बिकॉज आई मस्ट हैव अ राइट वेदर आई विश टू यूज द कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव्स और नॉट. देखिए एक लॉ, देयर वाज अ स्टेट, इनफैक्ट दिस कनिकट स्टेट में, वहां पे यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स के अंदर कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव्स के सेल पे बिल्कुल बैन कर दिया गया. कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव्स, यूज ऑफ कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव्स वर प्रोहिबिटेड, एंड सच लॉ वाज स्ट्रक डाउन बाय द United States Supreme Court said कि आप ऐसा नहीं कर सकते because whenever an individual have a right to procreate, that also includes a right not to procreate. So इसी वजह से बहुत important है ये बात कि आप state cannot enter into the private bedroom of the individuals because individuals have their own privacy, they have their own autonomy, and state cannot dictate, cannot direct what to do and what not to do, because that would actually interfere into the lives of individuals. So that's why the court has recognized that the individuals have a right to purchase and they have a right to use the contraceptives. So इसी में further मैं बात करता हूँ बहुत ही important right की. This right is what known as this right to abortion. And right to abortion में बहुत ही leading case है Roe versus Wade का. और हमने last time जब हम abortion वाला पार्ट पढ़ रहे थे तो हमने इसी का Indian counterpart भी पढ़ा था. और इंडियन काउंटर पार्ट में हमने बताया था कि कैसे मेडिकल टर्मिनेशन प्रेगनेंसी एक्ट हैव बीन इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय दिस जजमेंट. और ये बहुत ही लीडिंग जजमेंट है रो वर्सेस वेड का, 1973 का ये जजमेंट है यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स सुप्रीम कोर्ट का. और इस जजमेंट में कोर्ट क्या करता है, जो पूरा पीरियड ऑफ प्रेगनेंसी है उसको 3 ट्राइमेस्टर्स में डिवाइड करता है. फर्स्ट ट्राइमेस्टर, सेकंड ट्राइमेस्टर, लाइक फर्स्ट 3 months would create first trimester, subsequent 3 months would create this second trimester. Now further 3 months would create the last or the third trimester. So this pregnancy period of 9 months have been divided into 3 trimesters. So during the first trimester में मदर की ऑटोनॉमी है, मदर का कंप्लीट डिस्क्रेशन है कि वेदर शी विश टू कंसीव द चाइल्ड और वेदर शी विश टू अबॉर्ट द चाइल्ड। लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है कि ये बिल्कुल इट इज बियॉन्ड रेगुलेशन ऑफ द स्टेट। स्टेट कुछ रेगुलेशन कर सकता है और उसका रेगुलेशन का एक्सटेंट क्या है? रेगुलेशन का एक्सटेंट केवल इतना है कि स्टेट बता सकता है कि आप क्या मेडिकल प्रोसीजर यूज करेंगे। आपको मिनिमम एक मिनिमम सेफ गार्ड के रूप में आ सकता है कि केवल स्टेट कुड ओनली रेगुलेट द मेडिकल प्रोसीजर कि अबॉर्शन होगा तो किस तरीके से होगा। इट कुड ओनली रेगुलेट द प्रोसीजर, नॉट अदरवाइज। इट कुड नॉट प्रोहिबिट अ वुमन। So that's an important thing. Further, जब आप ये फर्स्ट ट्राइमेस्टर की सिचुएशन, नाउ व्हेन यू गोज टू दिस सेकंड ट्राइमेस्टर, सो सेकंड ट्राइमेस्टर में हमेशा क्या होगा कि गवर्नमेंट का लैटिट्यूड थोड़ा सा बढ़ जाएगा, गवर्नमेंट का कंट्रोल थोड़ा बढ़ जाएगा और ज्यादा बढ़ जाएगा। बिकॉज क्यों? हमने उसकी एक रीजनिंग जो दी है वो ये है कि जो वायबिलिटी है, जो लाइफ है एक फीटस में या एम्ब्रियो में, वो जनरली सेकेंड ट्राइमेस्टर से आनी शुरू हो जाती है। और हर लाइफ में स्टेट का एक इंटरेस्ट है, स्टेट का एक स्टेक है। स्टेट उसको प्रोटेक्ट करने की पूरी कोशिश करेगा, है ना। एंड इट हैज इट्स ओन रीजन, बिकॉज अगर स्टेट इंडिविजुअल की लाइफ को सेफगार्ड नहीं करेगा, स्टेट इंडिविजुअल की लाइफ को प्रोटेक्ट नहीं करेगा, तो ऑब्वियसली द स्टेट एग्जिस्टेंस माइट कम टू एन एंड। तो इसी वजह से स्टेट ऑलवेज प्रोटेक्ट्स। तो सेकेंड ट्राइमेस्टर में द स्टेट वुड ऑलवेज कम एंड प्रोटेक्ट। Now, when it comes to third trimester, तो third trimester में state has a more degree of control, and state could say you कि आप abortion नहीं करा सकते. You cannot abort the child at the third trimester. So state can in fact prohibit the abortion in the third trimester. So that's an important thing. तो यहाँ पे थर्ड में there is no if and but. State could completely regulate कि किन से देखिए, लेकिन इसका एक हमेशा पूरा थ्रू आउट द प्रेगनेंसी एक एक्सेप्शन तो है कि अगर मदर की लाइफ को कोई रिस्क है और चाइल्ड, सी इफ वी आर गिवन एन ऑप्शन टू चूज बिटवीन द लाइफ ऑफ अ मदर एंड लाइफ ऑफ चाइल्ड, obviously the state says that we would choose the life of the mother because her life is more important, her life is more precious than the life of the child. So larger harm or smaller harm में the state would obviously safeguard the larger interest. So अगर कहीं पे मदर की लाइफ को रिस्क है तो वो किसी भी ट्राइमेस्टर में हो अबॉर्शन हो सकता है, बट अदरवाइज स्टेट could prohibit the abortion in the third trimester or in fact in the second trimester. तो स्टेट का इंटरेस्ट तो कहीं ना कहीं तो है, लेकिन वो स्टेट का इंटरेस्ट ग्रेजुअली बढ़ता चला जाता है. So the interest of the state gradually increases with time. तो फर्स्ट ट्राइमेस्टर में स्टेट का इंटरेस्ट बिल्कुल कम है, तो उसका रेगुलेशन भी कम है. सेकेंड ट्राइमेस्टर में बिकॉज लाइफ आ गई, वायबिलिटी आ गई, तो स्टेट का जो डिग्री ऑफ कंट्रोल है, जो स्टेट का इंटरेस्ट है, वो बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ चुका है. इस वजह से स्टेट को रेगुलेट इट इन अ मोर कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव मैनर. But if I talk about the third trimester में state could in fact prohibit the abortion because state has now acquired the sufficient interest in the child and it must work towards protecting the life of the child. Subjected to an exception, to a general exception, that unless the life of the mother is at risk, the state could not allow abortion to happen. सो रो वर्सेस वेड बिल्कुल यही जजमेंट है. और इसमें जो टेक्सास का एक इंस्टीट्यूट है, एक लॉ है जो कहता है कि किसी भी सिचुएशन में, चाहे वो प्रेगनेंसी रेप से हुई है, चाहे वो प्रेगनेंसी irrespective of the fact that how that such pregnancy was conceived, the state provided a blanket ban on the abortion. तो इसी लॉ को सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल कहा और एक बड़े लॉजिकल वे में और बड़े रीजनिंग वाले मैनर में एक्सप्लेन किया कि व्हाट मस्ट बी द राइट लॉ. सो द कोर्ट हैज रिकॉग्नाइज्ड दैट राइट टू अबॉर्शन इज अ फंडामेंटल राइट, एंड इन द फर्स्ट ट्राइमेस्टर गवर्नमेंट कुड नेवर प्रोहिबिट अबॉर्शन, बट इट कुड ओनली रेगुलेट द मेडिकल प्रोसीजर. केवल वो मेडिकल प्रोसीजर को रेगुलेट कर सकती है कि ठीक है, अगर इफ यू आर गोइंग फॉर अबॉर्शन, सो एंड सो इज द कंडीशन. Now, second trimester में there is more degree of control in the hands of the state, but in the third trimester, government could prohibit abortion unless needed to protect women's life or health. Now Samir have raised this fact that this Roe versus Wade came in year. He's saying that precisely 1971 and Roe versus Wade is a case of year 1973. That how are they actually influencing each other? See, Samir, if you look at this law, I would completely agree that this law came in year 1971. But the entire genesis, the basis, is this viability, that when this viability is coming into the fetus. So that's more important. So this is the basis. We are talking more about the principle. That's what I've been speaking in my earlier classes as well, that we are talking about the principles. So the principle on what this law, this MTP Act is based, is again based on this classification of trimesters and the, when this life or the viability comes into the fetus. So more or less they are very similar. They are very, they are decided in the very same phase of the 70s. So in fact, I would rather say that yes, obviously the Indian law has been influenced by this judgment. Now coming further to my point, this third trimester, the government could not prohibit it unless it is needed to protect women's life or health. And there were, in fact, this case, there is a history in the United States wherein there was an effort to, overrule this Roe versus Wade, but this was saved, and this case was reaffirmed in this case of Planned Parenthood versus Casey. So this is an important case wherein Roe versus Wade have been upheld by the United States Supreme Court, have been affirmed by the United States Supreme Court. Now, further going into the picture, I am saying that a woman has a right to abortion. एक women के पास right to abortion है, but उस right को कोई भी government, कोई भी अब एक law बना के उसे unduly burden नहीं कर सकता. For example, I say कि अगर कोई भी pregnancy have been conceived out of marriage, and now if women requires it to be, it to be aborted, now this is her individual choice. So any law that says कि you must need a notification, you must need a consent from your spouse, you must need consent from your husband, such laws have been held as unconstitutional, saying that they pose undue burden on this right to abortion. So you have this fundamental right to abort that have been recognized by the United States Supreme Court. Furthermore, now that comes into picture, now what about this parental notification? So spousal notification have been held as unconstitutional. What about the parental notification in case of unmarried minor abortion? So the court has said कि अगर unmarried minor कोई एक girl है, if there is any minor girl and she's unmarried and she got pregnant and now she wished to exercise this right to abortion, the court has rightly observed that in such cases, if there is any law that requires her, to notify her parent or obtain consent from her parent, the law has been held as constitutional and says that it does not pose an undue burden over it. Now, Adayasha has one question. She has one question, sir. What happens if there was some delay in the process of judiciary during which the pregnancy has gone from the second to third trimester? All right. So see, in fact, अगर आप Indian courts में भी, so Adhyasa का question ये है कि what if जब case have been sub judice, have been pending before the court of law in any court of law, और ऐसे केस में प्रेगनेंसी का जो टाइम है वो ऑब्वियसली बढ़ता जा रहा है, because earlier it was in second trimester, because case pending रहा कोर्ट के सामने, now it has reached the third trimester, what would happen then? So I would say that in such cases, generally अगर आप इंडियन हाई कोर्ट्स में देखें या सुप्रीम कोर्ट्स में देखें, तो ऐसे केसेस को बहुत सेंसिटिव माना जाता है, तो बहुत ही जल्दी उनकी लिस्टिंग होती है. Obviously, अगर वहां पे कोई भी मेडिकल बोर्ड का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन होता है तो जनरली हाई कोर्ट गिव्स वेरी लेस टाइम, सेज लाइक do it within 3 days, do it within 7 days. So generally, देखिए एक जुडिशियल प्रोसेस का जितना टाइम है वो लेंगे, but in such sensitive cases, the court does not list the case. Obviously, they are always heard on urgent basis. They does not list the case, कि आपको 1 महीने का डेट मिल गया, नहीं. They are always heard on urgent basis, and in fact, court says कि वो बहुत ही sensitive issues है, because अगर वहां पे माइनर इन्वॉल्व है या फिर एक बच्चा इन्वॉल्व है, तो दे ऑलवेज गिव वेरी लेस टाइम फॉर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ मेडिकल बोर्ड्स एंड देयर ओपिनियन देयर ओन, और बहुत जल्दी लिस्टिंग होती है. तो ऐसा नहीं है कोर्ट इतना इनसेंसिटिव. सो कोर्ट्स आर सेंसिटिव. So now then I talked about this right to engage in private consensual homosexual conduct. और ये बहुत ही सिमिलर है हमारे इंडियन पर्सपेक्टिव पे नवतेज सिंह जौहर सेक्शन 377. उससे पहले आप देखेंगे दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट का जजमेंट, देन नाच फाउंडेशन में, देन हाउ इट वाज रिवर्स्ड बाय द सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन दिस सुरेश घोषल, और फर्दर प्रिवेसी के बाद कैसे जौहर में अगेन द कोर्ट हैज कम आउट एक यूनानिमस जजमेंट के साथ कि दैट हाउ इंडिविजुअल्स हैव अ राइट टू एंगेज इन प्राइवेट कंसेंशुअल होमोसेक्सुअल कंडक्ट. सो ये इंडियन काउंटर पार्ट की बात करते हैं नवतेज सिंह जौहर की. और हमने वी हैव डिस्कस्ड इट लास्ट टाइम एज वेल कि सेक्शन 377 ऑफ आईपीसी को अगर आप देखते हैं तो वो इंस्टीट्यूट बुक में तो अभी भी है, इट स्टिल अपीयर्स ऑन द इंस्टीट्यूट बुक्स, बट इट सेज दैट कि वहां से एक एक्सेप्शन आ गया. एक्सेप्शन क्या है कि अगर दो कंसेंटिंग अडल्ट्स, सो प्लीज understand, in fact I have asked you to highlight these words in the last class, and if it is happening in private, it is between two consenting adults, right? So consent is also important, two adults must be also there. So अगर दो consenting adults अपने private bedroom में क्या करते हैं, the court has said that this falls within their privacy, this completely falls within their autonomy, and the same could not be held as crime. So that have been held by the Indian Supreme Court in Navtesh Singh Jowhar. Similarly, यूनाइटेड स्टेट सुप्रीम कोर्ट में सबसे पहला जो केस होता है 1986 का, बोवर्स वर्सेस हार्डविक, ये केस है जहां देखिए यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में भी बिल्कुल जैसे हमारे इंडियन काउंटर पार्ट में होता है. इंडियन काउंटर I got this question, sometimes they just distract me, so मैं आपको definitely I would answer them, but let me finish this. I was talking that Bowers versus Hardwick में क्या होता है. इस केस में सुप्रीम कोर्ट says that any private consensual homosexual conduct could be held as crime, है ना. So वहां पे भी यही सिचुएशन है कि ये conduct was allowed, homosexual conduct was allowed, but this was happening in their private bedroom. तो generally prosecutions बहुत कम थे, very similar to India. But their Supreme Court in this case, Lawrence versus Texas 2003, they have held कि नहीं, this is any law that prohibits the same-sex, same-sex or MSM or criminalizes them, all such laws are unconstitutional. So this was held in this case of Lawrence versus Texas by the United States Supreme Court, and that's one of very interesting cases. Now, Adaisha, or I think, Adaisha has one question like spousal notification. What if doesn't it defy the right of father? All right. See, what I see in marriage, I completely agree that in marriage, both husband and wife, they are the important stakeholders, right? And they are equally important stakeholders. And in fact, the child, whether they wish to conceive the child or not, so again, it's a subject matter wherein the idea, the consent, or the decision of husband and wife are equally important. But court has held that this right to abortion is a fundamental right. Okay? That's the right of the women. That's completely the right of the women. So now the father could have say, but he could not have any legal say in it. Okay, he could decide. Obviously, he could have. There is no legal backup, like whether he does not have any legal right in the child saying that the mother could not abort it. So the court is held like whether a woman wish to conceive the child or not, that's completely her individual choice. That's completely her decision. That's her privacy right. And no one, including the state, including the father, could come and say that we have that fine, you cannot abort. The state have a right. In fact, the state have a right in the life of the individual. But I'm talking about during the first trimester. Nobody, including father or or the state, could come and say no, you should abort or you should not abort. The court has recognized that this is completely the decision of the mother, whether she wishes to conceive it or she does not want to conceive. So that's completely the right of the mother. So no say of father. That what these case laws are actually indicating. It says that if and that in fact, the object of enacting such statutes, such laws, was to notify or at least to obtain the consent from the father. But the court said no. This is such an exclusive right available to the women. That's completely her right, like whether she wished to undertake the pregnancy, whether she wished to continue with pregnancy or not. So the court has very categorically recognized this right. So that's a privacy right, that's a fundamental right. No one, including the state or her father, could actually come and interfere into this right. For example, if I talk about the Indian counterpart, if I have a right to choose my partner, like nobody, including my parents, come into the way. If they comes into they do not have any legal justification to come into my way, right? So they could have some moral say into it, but not any legal basis to proceed. Now going further, now we talked about this right of competent adults to refuse medical treatment, and we talked about that how the court has recognized that incompetent adult have a right to refuse medical treatment as well. और इसी counterpart में we have talked about this common cause versus Union of India. We talked about this. In fact, there was an article that was published on Bar and Bench recently saying that how forceful vaccination violates your fundamental right. There were comments, there were observations of various high courts that said that any law that that makes it compulsory to undertake vaccine violates this Article 21 of Indian Constitution. Furthermore, we talked about this right to physician-assisted death. The Supreme Court has said that there is no right to physician-assisted death. And furthermore, I wish to include that there is no right to education that have been held as a fundamental right by the United States Supreme Court. So you can write it down that the United States Supreme Court so far has never recognized right to education as a fundamental right. I think, in fact, we would be discussing all this in our further class, like in our evening lecture. And I wish to inform you that today in our evening class, so first 20-30 minutes, we would have a very brief session followed by questions of anyone. किसी के कोई भी doubts or queries, so we'll take that. And after that, we'll be sharing this link in the live class, the link of this assessment test. और जो test होगा, that would comprise, previous 6 lectures only, sir. Okay, Samir, I request if you could please unmute yourself. Thank you. So, जो test होगा, thank you, Samir. So, जो test होगा, that would, जो उसका majority of syllabus होगा, that would we would be covering from last 6 lectures only. So hardly आज वाले lecture से हम 1 या 2 सवाल ले लेंगे, एक इस वाले से और एक उस वाले से. So please be prepared for your assessment test and please move slide backward. तो उसके अलावा apart from it, 80% of attendance is compulsory. In fact, we have uploaded all the lectures on YouTube. We have uploaded it on the Google Drive. So आप लोग वो lectures देखिए. And after undertaking those lectures, please go through the feedback form, submit the feedback form, at least for the purpose of this KS team, so that they could coordinate कि किसने कितना पढ़ लिया. जो लोग regular हैं, I'm not talking about them. They have been regular, so they have been attending these classes. Now, immediately after that, आपको अपना assessment test देना है, and assessment test में you need to obtain at least 40% marks. And assessment test में we would have questions of both kinds. So we try to give objective questions as well as एक से दो subjective questions. For example, if I could give you a case law and ask you, like, write your opinion on it. So very simple test, right? So please go through it. और बाकी किसी का कोई questions हो, doubts हो, then that would take it in the last class. या फिर आज भी ले लेंगे या फिर इस वाली class में. So if you have any question or doubts, definitely you could come. So now we are going ahead with our further topic, this equal protection clause. Right? So आप इसे लिख लीजिए. So this is the topic for today's discussion. So write down the heading, this equal protection clause. Or equal protection clause में write down this first 7 articles. This and furthermore Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights क्या? First 10 amendments to the United States. आप देखेंगे equal protection clause में equal protection clause या फिर equality, right to equality, this nowhere appears in the United States Supreme Court. All right. At least up to these 7 articles and up to these 10 amendments, first 10 amendments up to in these Bill of Rights, there is nowhere mention of equality. So please note it down that there is no mention of equal protection in Bill of Rights or in the first 7 articles of the United States Constitution. आप देखेंगे इसके अलावा पूरा if you look at the history of the United States Supreme Court, in fact, it tries to actually institutionalize this idea of slavery. So बहुत सारे प्रोविजंस आपको ऐसे दिखेंगे यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, बहुत सारे प्रोविजंस आपको ऐसे दिखेंगे जो कहीं ना कहीं स्लेवरी को इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज करते हैं, ठीक है. They say, they recognize, they adopt slavery, right? So there is nowhere mention of equal protection in the first 10 amendments or in the first 7 articles of the United States Constitution. तो ये equal protection clause आता कहाँ पे? So the first time this equal protection clause appears, this comes into the 14th amendment, right? 14th amendment में आता है, and it's, please write it down, like the first time it appears in the Constitution is this 14th amendment. Or 14th amendment में it comes up as no state shall deny any person of equal protection of law. No state shall deny any person of equal protection of law. And we have discussed it at length at earlier occasions too, कि जो 14th amendment है, we are talking about this doctrine of incorporation. हमने okay, please note it down that 14th amendment only applies the constitution to state and local government. So I would discussing doctrine of incorporation in brief again, just a quick review, and then it would be like linking it. So आप इसे लिख लीजिए, like this 14th amendment actually applies the constitution to state and local government. To state and local. Now, coming back, जब हम theory of incorporation पढ़ रहे थे, I think this we have discussed in the first or second lecture. Second lecture है ना, तो वहां पे हमने क्या पढ़ा कि Bill of Rights were only available against the federal government. जो बिल ऑफ राइट्स हैं, जो भी आपके बिल ऑफ राइट्स के अंदर जितने भी फंडामेंटल राइट्स एन्यूमरेटेड हैं, वो सब they are only available against the federal government, right? Now, how these bill of rights are also available against the state governments? तो हमने यहाँ पे यूज किया थ्योरी ऑफ इनकॉर्पोरेशन. थ्योरी ऑफ इनकॉर्पोरेशन का सीधा सा इतना मतलब है कि जो 14th अमेंडमेंट में ड्यू प्रोसेस क्लॉज, तो जितने भी बिल ऑफ राइट्स में जितने भी राइट्स हैं, दे आर आल्सो एप्लीकेबल अगेंस्ट द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ दिस 14th amendment, because of this presence of this word due process, right? So this is what known as theory of incorporation. Or theory of incorporation में we have studied two theories, like complete incorporation, selective incorporation, or complete incorporation. तो selective incorporation का क्या मतलब था? Initially Supreme Court has interpreted selective incorporation कि कुछ rights, कुछ bill of rights, only some bill of rights, some rights enumerated under bill of rights are applicable against the state government. Not all, but today the position is like almost every right that have been enumerated in these first 10 amendments, they are also applicable against the state or local government by virtue of this 14th amendment, right? So this is what known as theory of incorporation. तो theory of incorporation कैसा है कि जितने भी bill of rights हैं, they were intended to be used against federal government, but because of this 14th amendment, all bill of rights, all rights enumerated under bill of rights would be also applicable against local or state governments, right? So this is what known as theory of incorporation. So I hope that this must be clear that what theory of incorporation is all about. Yeah, now Dyuti has told us about these exceptions. We talked about कि वो exceptions क्यों हैं? वो exceptions इसलिए हैं theory of incorporation में, because वो state में situation कभी applicable ही नहीं होगी. उसमें भी आप discussed about these exceptions. Like what are those exceptions? कि वो bill of rights जो state के against या local government के against कभी enforce ही नहीं किया जा सकता. तो situation is now going ahead. We'll be talking about this one more theory. Write down this doctrine of reverse incorporation. Doctrine of reverse incorporation. So please write down this theory, doctrine of reverse incorporation. And this theory is has been evolved by the court in this case of Bolling versus Shah. This is a case of year 1950. 1954. So write down the name of the case with title and the year. Doctrine of reverse incorporation. Right. The first time it comes into picture is the 14th Amendment. A 14th Amendment is only available against state government or local government, right? But the Supreme Court, by applying this theory of reverse incorporation, देखिए incorporation में क्या था कि जो rights केवल फेडरल गवर्नमेंट के अगेंस्ट एप्लीकेबल थे, they were made applicable against state government and local government too, by virtue of this due process clause. So similarly, equal protection clause was only found against the state government. It was not found against the federal government. But the court adopting this doctrine of reverse incorporation have held that this equal protection clause is also applicable against the federal government by the presence of due process clause in the Fifth Amendment. Right? So I would try to explain it again. देखिए वो जितने भी बिल ऑफ राइट्स थे, they were only applicable against the federal government. बट सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपने इंटरप्रिटेशन से कहा कि बाय थ्योरी ऑफ इनकॉर्पोरेशन these bill of rights are also applicable against the state or local government by virtue of this 14th amendment, right? So that's amply clear. This is what known as incorporation. Similarly, हमने कहा कि 14th amendment में equal protection clause आता है जो 5th amendment में नहीं है. If you read the 5th amendment and if you read the 14th amendment, this equal protection clause only appears in 14th amendment. तो इक्वल प्रोटेक्शन क्लोज केवल 14th अमेंडमेंट में आता है और 14th अमेंडमेंट इज ओनली एप्लीकेबल अगेंस्ट स्टेट गवर्नमेंट और लोकल गवर्नमेंट. So the court has said that because it is applicable against state or local government, equal protection clause, it must also be available against the federal government. And this is what known as theory of reverse incorporation. And the court has said कि equal protection clause कहाँ पे आएगा? It said it would be found in due process clause of the Fifth Amendment, right? So please write it down this last line, wherein this third point, इसी case में Supreme Court has held that it would be very illogical. It would be very illogical if federal government would be able, if federal government would be able
So yeah, sorry. I lost connection. Now I restart. I'm saying that it would this 14 amendment जहाँ पे equal protection clause पहली बार आता है और 14 amendment is only available against state government or local government. The Supreme Court in case says it would be very illogical that state or local government could not discriminate, but federal government they could discriminate. So the Supreme Court has said by this theory of reverse incorporation, it said because सारे Bill of Rights state government के against applicable है because of presence of due process clause in the 14th Amendment. Similarly, the equal protection clause would be also available against the federal government by virtue of presence of Fifth Amendment of this due process clause in the Fifth Amendment. So that's a very important thing. This is what known as theory of reverse incorporation. तो मैंने आपको बोला था ये last line लिख लीजिए. I was dictating it. So if anyone has missed it, so please write it again. That if it would be very illogical if federal government would be able to engage, if federal government would be able to engage in discriminating conduct, if state governments could not. If state governments could not. So write down a heading, this doctrine of reverse incorporation. Doctrine of reverse incorporation. So please note it down. Whereas, so it's a very important line, so please note it down. Whereas incorporation applies, so it is actually making a contrast between incorporation and reverse incorporation. So पहले incorporation समझते हैं. Similarly, then it would also tell you how it's like reverse incorporation is related to it. Whereas incorporation applies, the Bill of Rights to the states through the due process clause of the 14th Amendment. In reverse incorporation, the equal protection clause of the 14th Amendment has been held to apply federal government, to apply to the federal government, through the due process clause, located in the Fifth Amendment. Located in the Fifth Amendment. Located in the Fifth Amendment. So if somebody has missed it, please note it down. I'm giving you a 10-second break. राइट तो इसे समझते हैं. देखिए इनकॉर्पोरेशन में क्या है कि जितने भी बिल ऑफ राइट्स हैं दे आर आल्सो एप्लीकेबल टू द स्टेट्स बिकॉज देयर इज अ ड्यू प्रोसेस क्लॉज दैट इज फाउंड इन द 14th अमेंडमेंट. तो ये तो हम ऑलरेडी थ्योरी ऑफ इनकॉर्पोरेशन में पढ़ चुके हैं और इसके एक्सेप्शन भी बता दिए द्युति ने. सिमिलरली आप जब इक्वल प्रोटेक्शन क्लॉज की बात करते हैं जो 14th अमेंडमेंट में आता है दैट हैव बीन हेल्ड टू बी एप्लीकेबल अगेंस्ट द फेडरल गवर्नमेंट by virtue of the presence of this due process clause in the 5th amendment, right? So this is what known as theory of reverse incorporation. क्योंकि equal protection clause is only found in 14th amendment and 14th amendment is only applicable against state or local government. So the court, by applying this theory of reverse incorporation, has said that because there's a due process clause in the 5th amendment, this right that this equal protection clause that have been provided in the 14th amendment would be also applicable against the federal government by virtue of the presence of due process clause in the 5th amendment. This is what known as theory of reverse incorporation. So anyone having any doubt so far regarding this theory of reverse incorporation? Right. So now we proceed ahead and we will be discussing this equal protection clause. So आपको कभी भी discrimination हो रहा है या फिर क्या है, like if you gonna analyze any case, so these are the 3 points that you always need to take into consideration. So write down this thing, like if there is any discrimination, so write down the heading, like any discrimination under equal protection clause. So these are the 3 questions that you would actually decide, or any court would decide. These are the general principles. Like how would you decide कि वहाँ पे equal protection का violation है या equal protection clause का violation है कि नहीं है. So write down these 3 headings. First point is what is classification. First point is what is classification. What exactly is the classification talking about? So write on the first heading, this first point. This is what is classification. Second part, what is the level of scrutiny used? What is the level of scrutiny used? And third part, does the law meet the level of scrutiny? Does the law meet the level of the scrutiny? Does the law meet the level of the scrutiny? So this is the third point. तो ये 3 पॉइंट है. पहला पॉइंट क्या, क्लासिफिकेशन क्या है? क्या क्लासिफिकेशन सेक्सुअल ओरिएंटेशन के बेसिस पे है? क्या क्लासिफिकेशन रेशियल क्लासिफिकेशन है? क्या क्लासिफिकेशन एज के बेसिस पे क्लासिफिकेशन है? सो यू रियली नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि क्लासिफिकेशन एग्जैक्टली किस बेसिस पे है, राइट? सेकेंड थिंग इट गोज है कि क्लासिफिकेशन किस बेसिस पे है, उसकी बेसिस के हिसाब से वी ट्राई टू फिगर आउट what exactly would be the level of scrutiny the court would be using. For example, if it is a race discrimination, the court would always go ahead with strict scrutiny. For example, if there is a discrimination based on discrimination on the basis of your age, the court would obviously use rational basis review. तो आपके लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है ये बात कि ये समझना कि वो क्लासिफिकेशन किस ग्राउंड पे है, किस बेसिस पे है, और फिर उस बेसिस या फिर उस ग्राउंड के बेसिस पे कोर्ट क्या करेगी, कोर्ट ये डिसाइड करेगी कि उसे कौन से लेवल ऑफ स्क्रूटनी यूज करना है. और अगर फिर वो लेवल ऑफ स्क्रूटनी यूज करने के बाद बताएगी कि वो लॉ मस्ट बी हेल्ड एज अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल और मस्ट बी हेल्ड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल. सो द आउटपुट वुड बी एक्चुअली बी डिसाइडेड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द लेवल ऑफ द स्क्रूटनी यूज्ड. सो दीज आर द 3 इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स. तो ये 3 इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं कि क्लासिफिकेशन क्या है, स्क्रूटनी यूज क्या हुई है, और क्या लॉ डज द लॉ मीट द लेवल ऑफ स्क्रूटनी. So we would try to understand it with the help of one example. Write down the case name, this US versus Windsor. US versus Windsor. Right? US versus Windsor. तो यहां पे क्या है, this case actually involves same-sex marriage ban. Right? So this case involves same-sex marriage ban. So आप इसे हेडिंग में लिख लीजिए, नेम ऑफ द केस, एंड उसके आगे लिख लीजिए सेम सेक्स मैरिज बैन. तो सबसे पहला, what is the classification? The classification is very simple. That law is prohibiting some same-sex marriage. So classification किसके basis पे? Discrimination किसके basis पे? The discrimination is on the basis of sexual orientation. So write it down that the discrimination is based on sexual orientation. Discrimination based on sexual orientation. Discrimination based on sexual orientation. Now, the court would actually inquire that what is the basis, whether it is a legitimate basis, what is the purpose, why this discrimination have been, is being pursued by the state. State ऐसा क्यों कर रहा है? तो क्या उसका कोई legitimate aim है या compelling reason है? क्या purpose है? What is the reasoning? What is the purpose? What is the purpose that state wish to attain? So the court would then actually inquire. The court would try to figure out the level of scrutiny that it's going to use. And third thing, the court would actually come up, like whether the law must be held as constitutional or must be held as unconstitutional. The court has held See, this is a case wherein court did not say that we are using the strict scrutiny or we are using a restless review. But the court came to a conclusion that this same-sex man, these bans on same-sex marriage actually violates your equal protection clause. So write it down that these bans violate equal protection clause. These bans violate equal protection clause. So आपको समझ आएगा सबसे पहले you would try to figure out that what is the basis of the classification. Further you would move ahead and try to figure out. आप ये figure out करने की कोशिश करेंगे कि उसका वहां पे लेवल ऑफ स्क्रूटनी क्या यूज होगी, वहां पे पर्पस क्या है, लेजिटिमेट पर्पस है, कंपेलिंग पर्पस है, और फिर ये क्या द लॉ मीट्स दैट स्क्रूटनी दैट हैव बीन अडॉप्टेड बाय कोर्ट ऑन. So this is a threefold test or a threefold method you would use actually to figure out कि क्या यहाँ पे क्लासिफिकेशन जो है वो डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी है कि नहीं, whether it offends equal protection or not. Now going ahead, so generally आप देखेंगे कि लेवल ऑफ स्क्रूटनी क्या यूज होगी. तो आप हमेशा देख लीजिए रेशियल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होगा तो वहां पे हमेशा स्ट्रिक्ट स्क्रूटनी यूज होगी. सो राइट इट डाउन दैट racial discrimination would invite strict scrutiny. Racial discrimination would invite strict scrutiny. And government must show compelling purpose. And government must show compelling purposes. Purpose, right? Whatever. सो रेशियल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन में कहीं पे भी अगर रेशियल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है तो गवर्नमेंट मस्ट प्रूव दैट यस. आई थिंक वगीशा, डू यू हैव सम क्वेश्चन? एंड व्हाई गवर्नमेंट इज एक्चुअली सेइंग दैट बी कंपेलिंग पर्पस, व्हाई द गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग दैट देयर मस्ट बी स्ट्रिक्ट स्क्रूटनी. इसका एक रीजन है. सी, इफ यू आर डिस्क्रिमिनेटिंग ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ रेस, you are actually discriminating on those characteristics that are so immutable, that are so inherent. See, if I'm a black or white, I had no option to choose. That's all inherent, that's all biology, that's all chromosomes, right? So the court has said, because I have no role to play into it, the court have always been suspicious that why the government is actually discriminating against someone on the basis of race. So it always says that government must show a compelling government purpose, and it must prove in the court that these are the least means, these are the least measures in which we are curtailing the rights of the individual, and there is no other way possible, no other means possible to achieve the same purpose. तो आपके लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि हम क्यों रेशियल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन को, क्यों स्ट्रिक्ट स्क्रूटनी यूज कर रहे हैं. बिकॉज दीज काइंड ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, दे आर बेस्ड ऑन योर immutable characteristics. These are based on your biology, and no individual had an option to choose. I had no option to choose like whether I should be a white or black. So that's why the court has said that we would be using strict scrutiny. So because these classifications, whether it be racial classification, whether it be sexual discrimination on the basis of sex, these all reflect our stereotypes and prejudices. And the court has said that these are immutable differences, right? So please write down this word, that they are immutable differences. They are immutable differences and reflect stereotypes and prejudices. They are immutable differences and reflect stereotypes and prejudices. So this becomes very clear that why race discrimination should met with strict scrutiny. So सबसे पहले आप एक दो केसेस हम डिस्कस करेंगे, then we would conclude the class for today. So write it down कि जहां पे फेस ऑफ द लॉ पे आपको ऐसा दिखता है क्लासिफिकेशन. So write down classification on the face of law. So write down the new heading, classification on the face of law. Classification on the face of law. So write down this case, Strader versus West Virginia, a case of year 1880. Strater versus West Virginia, a case of year 1880. So बिल्कुल apparently दिखता है, लॉ के एकदम फेस पे दिखता है कि हाँ ये डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी है, ये क्लासिफाई करता है इंडिविजुअल्स को ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ रेस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, दिस लॉ सेज दैट ओनली व्हाइट men could serve on juries, and such law was held unconstitutional by the United States Supreme Court. Right? So यहाँ पे बिल्कुल on the face of it दिखता है, on the face of law it appears that this law is classifying, this law is discriminating on the basis of your race. So write down the name of the case and write down a simple line that only white men could serve on juries was held unconstitutional. So write down this first point under this case. Law that only white men could serve on juries was held unconstitutional. Law that only white men could serve on juries was held unconstitutional. Now, similarly, we are talking about the cases, we are talking about the laws that burdens both minority and the whites or the majority. So पहला हमने देखा कि वो सारे लॉज, वो सारे केसेस जो केवल माइनॉरिटी को हिट करते हैं, जो केवल एक पर्टिकुलर सेक्ट को हिट करते हैं, कि दे ओनली advantages a particular set of individuals, a particular set of community. Now we are talking about such laws that burdens equally minority and majority, but they're still discriminatory in nature. So write down the second heading, that laws that burden both minority and whites. आपने जैसे लविंग वर्सेस वर्जीनिया देखा. लविंग वर्सेस वर्जीनिया क्या है? लविंग वर्सेस वर्जीनिया इज लाइक इंटररेशियल मैरिजेस को जो बैन किया हुआ स्टेट लॉज में. तो ऐसे लॉ में अ व्हाइट कैन नॉट मैरी अ ब्लैक कैन नॉट मैरी अ व्हाइट. ओके, सो ये क्या दिखाता है कि जितना ये लॉ ब्लैक्स के लिए जितना उनको बर्डन करता है, उतना ये व्हाइट्स को बर्डन करता है, बिकॉज व्हाइट्स कैन नॉट आल्सो मैरी ब्लैक अगर वो चाहे तो, ब्लैक्स कैन नॉट मैरी व्हाइट वो चाहे तो. So this would indicate कि दोनों को बर्डन कर रहा है, but court still found it कि no, it is still discriminatory, because the court says अगर आप ऐसा कुछ भी करते हैं कि आप interracial marriages को बैन करें, what exactly are you presuming? You are presuming that there is one race is superior to another. तभी तो वो एक दूसरे में मैरिज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. That whites cannot marry to their inferior one and the blacks could not marry the superior one, and this what indicates the superiority and inferiority of the races. So that's why the court has said that such laws must be held as unconstitutional. तो ऐसे लॉ आप इसमें लिख लीजिए जो दोनों को बर्डन करते हैं. राइट डाउन द नेम ऑफ द केस, लविंग वर्सेस वर्जीनिया. Like we would continue for 2-3 more minutes and then we will conclude the class for today. Hardly one or two more slides. So burdens both white and black. तो इसमें आप केस लिख लीजिए लविंग वर्सेस वर्जीनिया. Now we are talking about this separation of races. Separation of races. So a case is there. Write down the name of the case. Plessy versus Ferguson, right? क्रीम को लॉज इनको बोलते हैं. Plessy versus Ferguson. So this is one of the very infamous cases. That separate but equal. Write down it. Separate but equal. Permissible under 14th Amendment. Separate but equal. Permissible under 14th Amendment. So ये केस कहता है कि जो सेग्रीगेशन है, जो प्रैक्टिसेस ऑफ सेग्रीगेशन है, कि व्हाइट्स के लिए अलग पार्क है, ब्लैक्स के लिए अलग पार्क है, व्हाइट्स के लिए एक अलग कंपार्टमेंट है ट्रेन में, ब्लैक्स के लिए अलग है. So such segregation is not violation of 14th Amendment. How? It is separate, but because so far it is equal, it is permissible under the 14th Amendment. So this was the view of the Supreme Court in year 1896. But ये व्यू बाद में ओवररूल हुआ इन ब्राउन वर्सेस बोर्ड ऑफ एजुकेशन. So write down this name, Brown versus Board of Education. So team case, I think there is some issues regarding the feedback form that we are receiving in the chat box. So please see. So obviously they would provide you this link, feedback link, probably again in the WhatsApp group. So आप लोग बहुत परेशान ना हो इस चीज को लेके, आप थोड़ा सा अपना पढ़ाई पे फोकस करिए, है ना. सो आप उनको दोबारा एक नया लिंक दे दीजिए, फिर इसकी सेटिंग्स को चेंज करके जस्ट गिव. ऑलराइट, नो इश्यूज, नो इश्यूज. सो सेपरेशन ऑफ रेसेस में देखिए, पहला केस हमने पढ़ा, पहला डिस्क्रिमिनेशन कैसा डिस्क्रिमिनेशन था, वो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन जहां पे एम्पली क्लियर समझ आ रहा है कि केवल वो माइनॉरिटी को बर्डन कर रहा है, कि माइनॉरिटी कुड नॉट डू दिस, माइनॉरिटी कुड नॉट डू दिस. दूसरे केस में देखा कि दोनों को इक्वली बर्डन कर रहा है. और इसी का एक फेसेट हमें समझ में आता है जहां पे सेपरेशन ऑफ रेसेस आता है, कि सेग्रीगेशन हो रहा है, जिम क्रॉस लॉ जिनको बोला जाता है, कि यहाँ पे हम सेपरेट कर रहे हैं. कि segregation, this practice of segregation, this was prevalent in the United States in the history at a very large level. But the court in the case of Brown versus Board of Education, so write down the name of the case, Brown versus Board of Education, 1954. Brown versus Board of Education. This is the case of year 1954, wherein the Supreme Court has held that separate but equal, wherein the Supreme Court has held that separate but equal violates 14th Amendment. Violates 14th Amendment as Constitution prohibits classification based on race. As Constitution prohibits classification based on race. So यहाँ तक this was like what we talked about, this equal protection of law. थोड़ा सा इसको हम ज्यादा extend कर सकते थे, but because of limited time we are not doing it. So in fact I would upload the slides in this Google Drive, तो आप लोग वहां से इसको fetch कर लीजिएगा, ये जितने भी slides और PPT है आज वाली. उसके अलावा we would upload the lecture on YouTube and in the Google Drive as well. So if you have if you wish to revise it, if you wish to reread it, obviously you can go ahead. और किसी का अभी तक कोई डाउट हो, the same could be written in the chat box. And definitely otherwise it's time to conclude the class because it's already 12:05. And we'll meet in the evening. In the evening, first 20 minutes we would have class, 20-30 minutes, and thereafter we would have the test. The link would be shared only in the live class, so please join timely. The test would contain both kind of questions, subject as well as objective, right? So anyone, if they are having any queries, and the substantial portion of the test would be coming from previous 6 lectures, right? And the team Kanun Sangrah, they have shared the revised link in the chat box again. So please submit the feedback form for today. And it was really, really great interacting with you. So thank you so much. Please enjoy your test. Best of luck for your test. Thank you.